Welcome back to Team Sandcrawler. Dav here, or Tyler. I know it's been a while, been really busy, but I have a video and I want to show you guys. So let's get into it. Um, Here we have the only light side deck I've been playing lately, other than obviously playtesting. Uh, and if you've read anything about me on the website recently, you know what this deck does. But just in case you don't, let's go over it real quick. It has 2 attack pattern delta, so that's 6 targets. It has 2 Rogue Squadron Assault, so that's 10 targets. It has Blue Squadrons, so that's 12. Draw Their Fire puts you at 14, and then Mobilize and Defensive Yavin 4 puts you at 18 targets for attack pattern delta. So lots of little vehicles. Lots of swarming my opponent. Lots of incidental blasts. Lots of rebel assaults out of Mobilize and Defensive Yavin 4. Also, fun fact, lots of resources. Mobilize basically counts as a resource. Draw Their Fire comes with a resource. Rogue Squadron Assault comes with a resource. Defensive Yavin 4 comes with a resource. Attack Pattern Delta comes with a resource. It's almost all resources. But, you know, at least the ones in APD and Draw Their Fire have edge pips, right? Because sometimes you're just like, I need dudes, not resources. Um, so anyway, this is the deck. It's a lot of fun. I'm going to play it for you now. I'm up against Katurian online. Um, he wanted to try out a dark side deck, and I was more than happy to give him the Rebel beatdown. It's awkward that Octagon has them all in different sizes. But, you know, you do what you do. So, here we go. First things first, we have our 4 objectives. Rogue Squadron Assault, Blue Squadron, Draw Their Fire, Mobilize. Basically, whenever I get Mobilize and Draw Their Fire, I mean, one is just strictly better than the other. So, let's get rid of Draw Their Fire and have some B-Wings. Now, unfortunately, this flop did not have any attack pattern delta. So we're just going to have to play out our units the hard way. Thanks to the recent nerf to the rookie pilot, he's just whatever, he's just a dude. So we're just going to ditch the dude. So he has Council of the Sith, Scouring the Empire, and Fall of the Jedi. So that's Council, Jarek, and Vader. Jarek I'm not super surprised by. If anyone wants to run Mono Sith at this point, they kind of have to run at least one Jarek, in my opinion, because you need to be able to beat this deck, and Force Storm is the only thing Mono Sith can do to beat this deck. And even then, like, I've had people Force Storm me twice and still win. So it's like, you know, whatever. Obviously, all of his Force Chokes are bad. Again, another reason not to play out my pilot. His resources are okay, I guess, right? Because Jarek comes with 2 resources, but I can kill them. There's the one in, there's the advisor in Council. I can kill him. And they're not great targets, right? Obviously, I'd rather be killing the objectives or the mains. Oh, this is interesting. ISB interrogators. So that tells me something very important. That tells me he's running the, oh geez, what's it called? Cruel Interrogations. The pod that's all about discarding cards because it has interrogation droids. Interrogation, by the way, against like any mains deck is just the nuts card. Because just like, oh, you just drew your hand. I'm going to take the best card out of it. And oh, look, you don't get to play any mains this turn. Have fun. I'm just like, no, thank you, sir. Here, basically, it's pretty obvious to me that he just put down some resources and a dude with shielding. And that's not a very good start for him. Like, I could easily take the force back if I really wanted to. Just put down Rogue 2 and commit him right. Or I could just say, oh, you only have 1 real significant blocker and he has 1 health. And he has 1 unit damage. Let me attack you. he has 5 cards in hand for edge, but then this deck doesn't really care about the edge, especially when your opponent doesn't have any tactics on the board. So we're just going to use our 5 resources to put down 3 dudes. They're all pretty much the same, right? They all have unit and blast. A couple of them have some extra unit and some extra blast. But now, okay, so I'm going to stop this real quick because I sort of rushed through that turn. Like I said, I could either push in for damage, or I could take the force. Normally, with this deck, you don't really care about the force, and I would just push in for damage. But let's look at what he has in play. He got a resource out, so he can accelerate to 5 resources next turn. But his resource is also using up one of his force commitment cards. So that's one fewer, commitment that he has available, and also if he wants to ever, fight with it, it's going to be double focused. Again, probably not relevant, but the fact that he's going to have to basically be down a card going forward because he put, the commitment and the 2 resources into this one unit that's basically just a resource. Whereas what's in my hand, we have 2 Rebel Assaults, which I'm not going to edge, a Astromech Droid, which I don't want to edge, and a Snowspeeder, which I can just discard if I really need to get rid of it, which I kind of don't, I don't really like the Snowspeeder. But most importantly, I had 7 cards available, and he had 7 cards available. I played 3 of them, and he played 2 of them. And I figure it's not worth letting him dump a bunch of his cards that are either bad in this situation or just too expensive to play. It's not worth doing that, letting him get those cards out of his hand, because he's only going to draw 1 card now, whereas I'm going to get to draw 3, 4 once I use Rogue Squadron Assault. Like, at this point, I'm just going to build up some forces, outdo him in terms of card advantage, and then have more units than he can handle. And if he ever plays a main, he plays Vader, I have 2 Rebel Assaults. Okay, sure. He plays Emperor, Rebel Assault, and then any attack. He plays Force Storm even. Okay, fine. We can trade the board, but I'm not losing one of my units. And at this point, he's not going to Force Storm me because it would be my Rogue 2 against his resource guy. I mean, I guess he'd play it after I deployed all my units, but at this point he can't even play Force Storm because I have the Force, right? So a lot of these games that you would think are all about attacking and blocking, sometimes it is actually all about card advantage and just being like, I'm not going to go into an engagement because I don't want you to be able to cycle your hand. Especially when the cards that I have in my hand aren't cards I want to cycle. I want to play them all. Because in this case, I'd have 1, maybe 2 cards for edge, right? And they'd be bad. And so I would actually be drawing fewer cards if I went into the engagement than he would, because he would get to put in like 4 cards and I'd put in 1 or 2. And then he'd get to draw those 4 cards back, and I'd get to draw my 1 or 2 cards back. And then we'd probably be even because I played more and edged more. But I can just avoid that by not going to engagement, right? And now he's drawing fewer cards. He's stuck with whatever he had last turn. And clearly whatever he had last turn wasn't great because he played a resource guy and an ISB interrogators. And I think the ISB interrogators are fine, but that's a really bad turn for the dark side. Whereas my turn was 3 X-Wings. And here comes the big man himself, Vader. So like I said, if he plays a Vader, I have 2 Rebel Assaults. And obviously I can't play them both immediately, but if I can just, hit him with for a little bit of unit damage and then fire off a Rebel Assault before he gets to strike back, or even just, oh, okay, here we go. And this is where he saw that I was playing Rebels and decided he was going to say, I'm going to hedge against Desperation. And I think this is a bad idea for a couple of reasons. One, yes, it hedges against Desperation, but you can see the mobilize the squadrons on the table, so you know there's Rebel Assaults. Granted, you can't always play around Rebel Assault, and Rebel Assaulting Vader isn't always the best choice either, but the dial's at 2. If I was playing Desperation, I wouldn't have taken back the Force. I would have, raced to get the Force on. And now here's where he makes his big mistake. And he says, oh, well, I have Vader, and Vader has 3 unit damage and targeted strike. I guess I'll attack. And I just immediately am going to snap off this block for a number of reasons. One, so long as he can't take out my snow speeder, I'm taking the Force, and on his turn, which means I get to deal 1 damage to one of his objectives for free, which is like insane for a Rebel deck. On the other hand, this is 1 fewer unit for him to have available to block. And even if he does get to targeted strike, let's say he targeted strikes the Rogue Squadron X-Wing because that has the most health and that is sometimes the scariest. Like, okay, fine. You traded your technically 6 cost unit for my 2 cost unit? I'll gladly take that. And sure, his sticks around, but it doesn't get to block. And now here he's going to target his strike, and he realizes that he can't win the Force unless he kills the Snowspeeder, so he's going to kill the Snowspeeder. And I didn't actually think he would do that. I thought he was going to, kill the X-Wing, because I'm usually scared of the X-Wing, so I'd go for the X-Wing first. But in this case, okay, sure, I'll throw a couple damage on him. And that was kind of why I blocked with both of them, right? Is if he wants to win the Force, he's going to have to take 2 damage and be immediately vulnerable to Rebel Assault, which, spoiler alert, is what's about to happen. Whereas if he didn't do that, then I was going to win the Force, and I'm happy with that too. So let's just go right up, kill Vader. Again, I use my numbers to my advantage by just having 2 guys, each with a unit damage, add it up. We're going to draw up. Now we only have 3 resources this time. So our choices are, what, B-Wing, X-Wing, or B-Wing, or the B-Wing and Astromech droid? Like, that's not really a choice, because I want to swarm, which means I don't want to be loading up attachments. The Astromech droid has more edge icons, so it's better to have that in hand. I'm not going to play the Y-Wing over the B-Wing, so it's basically just like, yeah, okay, B-Wing, X-Wing, let's go. And now he has 1 unit committed, has 1 health, 1 unit damage, and shielding. If I can't get a lot of blast damage this turn, then shame on me. And now if he's smart, he's going to block my white blast damage units, which is why I want to split them up. Because I don't want to send in, say, the B-Wing, X-Wing in at a single objective and then have him win the edge battle, which, let's be honest, he's playing Sith, I'm playing Rebels, he's probably going to win the edge battle, even though I have 5 cards. 4 cards, really, right? I'm not going to use the Rebel Assault. He can probably win the edge battle and turn off all my blast, at which point all the unit damage in the world is irrelevant. So I want to make sure I send in break up the white blast so that at least one of these is going to go undefended and just get, a whole ton of damage. Fortunately, he is going to block with his interrogator here, as opposed to against one of the X-Wings. I guess he realizes that because I'm going to split up the X-Wings against the other 2 objectives, this is where he can theoretically turn off the most blast by winning edge against the B-Wing. And he shields himself. I don't know why he shields himself. He should be shielding the objective. Maybe he thinks he can win. No, even then, he should be shielding the objective, because I can deal 2 damage to him, like, straight up. Here we're edging. He could have a twist. I don't really care. He doesn't have a twist. I win the edge. Cool. Let's strike with my booing. Do lots of blast damage. I hate that aspect of the B-wing. Oh, he shielded himself so he could get his unit damage in on the B-wing. Or on the X-wing. That's why. I guess because he knew that he was going to lose the edge battle with those cards in hand. So we get in there, we deal 4 damage to the objective. Cool story. Now we're just going to go in and lay down some suppressive fire. Get some incidental blast. Incidental blast is the name of the game with this deck. This deck is all about just getting in there with your X-wings, one at each objective. You know, unless you get a trench run out. If you get a trench run out, I've gone in. The worst story, this is a great story, so while he's figuring out what he's doing, I'll tell it. The worst story, though, is I was playing at a store championship. I was playing this deck. I go up against Mono Sith, I think. Doesn't really matter what it was against, but I had trench run out, and I was like, all right, we're doing pretty good. We have this giant swarm. Let's get in there. Ooh, Force Storm. Look at that. He wants to wipe my board. But you know what? He played it on his turn. He didn't even let me deploy. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Delete them all. Delete, 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 delete. But he was so excited about having Force Storm, and he should have waited until my turn after I deployed. Would have been way better. Spoiler alert, it wouldn't have made a difference, but you know, it's what you're supposed to do. Anyway, back to the story. I had trench run out. I have a bunch of units. One of them is what's the snow speeder that gains white blast for each attacking speeder? Rogue 2, I think. One of them is Rogue 2. So I'm just like, all right, everybody in. And I counted up, and I have like 12 or I think I have like 12 blast in this attack. It's 12 or 13. It's well over 10. And I'm just like, all right, I have like almost the most perfect edge hand, because I have. Oh yeah, by the way, here I just want to get the card out of my hand. He has no units to play it on, so I'm just going to put it on the objective. Anyway, I have stay on target, Battle of Hoth, hobby, stay on target, I think. I remember I had 2 sets of 5, and I figured he probably has a twist, but he's only got like 3 cards in hand, so even if he has a twist, I can still probably beat him, unless he has like a, oh, what's his name? See, this is why it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't, unless he has like a Palpatine or something. And so I go in, and he twists twice, and this surefire like 1-turn win goes into, I do basically I think I did like 2 blast damage off of a couple of Rogue Squadron X-Wings, and he just decimated my board, and it was really demoralizing. That's why, be careful with your Twist of Fate. Sometimes the other guy has 2 Twists of Fate, and you're just, even if you have the perfect edge hand with 5 Fate cards, it's not good enough. Oh yeah. Okay, so real quick recap on this game. I played a resource, I played the X-Wing, I put hobby on the X-Wing. I'm attacking. At this point, I'm just cycling cards out of my hand that I don't want. I return hobby in the engagement, so I double strike on the objective to kill it. So now there's 2 different objectives, each with 1 health. You know, if I can't win in the next turn, then shame on me. And I have 6 resources. And I have a Y-wing and a B-wing in my hand. Like, come on. Ironically, I still won that game, even after the double twist. Because turns out, if you have 7 units in play, and he kills 3 of them, and he has 3 units, and you play 4 more units the next 3 or 4 more units the next turn, it doesn't matter. That's why I like this deck. It's just super resilient. Alright, now here's the big question. It's big old Palpatine. What's he going to do? Is he going to tactics out my board? No, he's not. Well, he could, but he's not going to stop me from striking. See, this is why this deck is so good against Sith. Even when Sith gets its big, bad main unit that can handle 3 units, like Palpatine, first of all, sometimes I just have more than 3 units, and I don't care if you tactics out the first 3, because the other 2 will still kill you. On the other hand, if I have a hobby on an X-Wing, it is impossible to prevent me from striking. Actually impossible, unless you kill it in one strike. Because I'll just choose to lose the edge battle, make you strike first, or even better, if I win the edge battle, I'll strike first, and then you'll tactics me, and then I'll strike again, right? But I can just be like, yeah, I don't care. Like, tactics me all you want. I'll bounce hobby after you strike. I'll strike you for 1 unit and 1 blast. I'll destroy the objective. I'll go to the next objective. It's like, because this deck can have such explosive turns, like what you just saw. I put down 8 damage in one turn, and then 5 damage the next turn. And now it's like I'm this close. I'm this close to winning, and he can't stop me from striking to win. Okay. So here I've put everybody out, and now I have 2 things that I can do. And this is actually interesting to watch because I psych myself out. Right now, I'm going to pause the movie or the recording and say, I have an onboard win right now, this turn. And he can do nothing to stop me. It's actually impossible for him to stop me. The problem is, and I figure all this out, and I figure out how to do it, but I don't think through the whole process, so I attack the wrong objective first. And then that means that I can't win this turn. Granted, I'm still going to win next turn because, I can kill Palpatine, but I'm not going to win this turn. But I do have the win on board thanks to hobby and stay on target in my hand. And I have a rapid fire, which will either give me 3 edge icons to win an edge battle, which isn't super relevant considering the fact that he has 6 cards in hand and is playing Sith. But because I can use stay on target to get hobby into play on the other X-Wing. So let's see if I can actually remember how this works. I believe I get in with the piloted X-Wing at the undamaged objective with the B-Wing. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to play this wrong right now, but I want to talk... Well, no, I'll let you figure it out. So let's play it out. All I'm going to say is I have the onboard win, and I figure out what it is, but I attack the wrong objective first. And now, obviously, I've already spoiled it, but I should be attacking the undamaged objective first with these 2 units. And that forces him to block. Because actually, if you look at it, that's a lethal kill on an undamaged objective if he doesn't block. Because I go 2 with the B-Wing, 1 with the X-Wing, bounce hobby, 1 with the X-Wing, unopposed. Lethal kill. So he has to block. See, and the funny thing here is, I realize that I screwed it up, but I think I screwed it up the wrong way. Right? I think that I actually... yeah, he offers to let me step back because I realized, but then I'm like, no, I want to play it out and see how it goes. Also because I'm in the back of my head, I still have I still know that I have the math done right, but again, I forgot to think it through and realize that I should be attacking the undamaged objective first to get Palpatine out of the way, because the gist of it is obviously that I'm then going to let Palpatine strike and then use hobby to clear the first X-Wing, which can get in and let me play the fake card onto the other send in these 2, force them to block. So this is how, okay, I'll just explain it now. So the way it works is these 2 units attack the undamaged objective, which forces him to block or I kill it. Oh, this is where I screwed up. I shouldn't have put the stay on target because, yeah, I did the math wrong. What I should have done is get in with both of them at the undamaged objective. He has to block. I let him strike. Like, I don't care. I let him strike. He focuses out all 3 of my units. Then I let the engagement end. Now I bounce Hobby to clear 1 X-Wing, who goes in at the 1 health objective, Council, let's say. And then during that engagement, I play the stay on target, which flips and puts Hobby into play from my hand on the other X-Wing that's not in the engagement. I strike, kill the objective, bounce Hobby to clear the other X-Wing goes and destroys the other objective. That's how I have the win. But because I wasted my stay on target, and it doesn't even matter that he twisted it, right? It's just the fact that there was a stay on, the fact that I played the stay on target when there wasn't a Hobby out of play, right? Because I did all the math and I realized that when I thought I screwed up, I did all the math and realized that with the stay on target, there was no point at which I could attack and use the stay on target to clear the other X-Wing and still be able to attack the objective that I currently have engaged. Right? Basically, I thought it through, realized that I couldn't engage the objective I needed to engage, and so thought I screwed up, and so threw away my stay on target. Whatever. It doesn't really matter because it's like at the end of the day. So then I'm going to rapid fire him for funsies. Throw in an extra damage. Because like all I have to do is draw a Rebel Assault and win. And that's the other thing, is if this deck ever gets like a turn where it just gets to put a bunch of damage down and destroy an objective, now it's just like every Rebel Assault instantly wins me the game. The dial's at 8. Uh-oh. I can use a... Oh yeah, so I committed my units to the Force, right? That was specifically because A, I have Hobby in my hand, so whatever. I can just clear all the focus if I need to. And B, if he has another Force Storm, which I specifically know he does because I already destroyed one of Jarek's objectives and he flipped another one, which means he's running 2 Jareks, which means 2 Force Storms. So if he Force Storms, then he can kill both my Rogue Squadron X-Wings. But all I need is a single Rogue Squadron X-Wing to survive to my turn and I win. Because I can just put Hobby on it and then attack, and again, with Hobby on an X-Wing, you cannot stop that X-Wing from striking. And then all I need to do is strike once with the X-Wing and I win, because he has 1 health. So he's figuring out what he's going to do, and he realizes that the game is over because there's nothing he can do, because I have Rogue Squadron X-Wing and Hobby. So I'm not going to belabor the point by continuing to play it out. I'm pretty sure I just top deck Rebel Assault, which is super boring, but it happens. And again, I'm going to be drawing 6 cards. Yeah, he realized that he can't stop me from just using Hobby to strike and win the game. So yeah, that's why Sith Mains loses to this deck, because I have too many units and I have Hobbies. And the other thing is I'm drawing 6 cards because I'll draw 5 and then play Hobby, and Hobby will immediately draw me another card with Rogue Squadron Assault. Oh, that's right. He uses the old interrogation droid to get rid of Hobby. That pod apparently is in his deck to get rid of Desperation, which seems kind of legit, right? Because if you draw an early Desperation, you're going to hang on to it until the dial gets to 8. And often in situations like this, if there's a card that the light side player wants, you know, it'll be the only card left in their hand after they've done all their attacks, because they used all the cards they didn't want in the edge battle. So it's just like, oh, just gonna kill it. And for me, it's Hobby, and it's like, I think I already used my stay on targets, so he's in the discard, but whatever. Again, all I have to do is draw a Rebel Assault, and there's 2 more in the deck out of 26 cards. It's not that hard. I'm going to be seeing a quarter of my deck next turn. So he figures the best defense is good offense. So let's get in there. Destroy the objective. I forget if he got anything back with Palpatine when all these objectives died. I think he got back Force Storm and then realized he couldn't play it because all my units were committed to the Force. So this is just to, lock out all my units, so it's just whatever I draw. And then he wins the Force Struggle, and we go to my turn, and I draw some cards eventually. Come on, Dav, what are you doing? Draw the Rebel Assault, win the game. There we go. Oh, look, attack pattern delta. And there's the Rebel Assault. Good game, sir! But just because I'm a troll, I'm going to use attack pattern delta first. And the first card is Heroic Sacrifice, which is bad against that deck. Anyway, so I've belabored this long enough. Rebel Assault, I win the game. Thank you all for watching. I hope you liked this video, and I hope you like this deck as much as I do. And I look forward to playing with it some more. If you find me on Octagon, hit me up and play some games with me. I always want to play games when I'm on Octagon. But I might record, I might not. You're welcome to ask. You're welcome to chip in if you want and point some things out or try some things. Until next time.